Randy Lyne graduated from Topeka West High School and began attending Washburn soon after the 1966 tornado. He was one of those trailer students. He attended classes in the trailers, but he remembers how the university maintained the quality of its educational offerings. He earned his Bachelor of Business Administration degree in 1972, worked in Kansas City, and obtained a Master of Administration from Rockhurst University. He began his journey to the old American dream 35 years ago when he moved to Texas to start his own business. Randy established Preferred Pump and Equipment in Fort Worth, Texas in 1982. The company is one of the most trusted and leading North American distributors of water well equipment, water pumps, pump hoist accessories, has operations in 50 states, 50 warehouses, more than 1,100 vendors. Water well drillers, pump installers, dealers, contractors are among their thousands of satisfied customers. He considers his proudest accomplishment providing a healthy work environment and a solid future for more than 500 employees and their families. Preferred Pump has assisted numerous non-for-profit groups with installing wells and water supply systems in underdeveloped countries and supports charities to provide water systems in rural America. Randy is past chair of the American Groundwater Trust and the Water Systems Council. He is a life member of the National Groundwater Association. He's married and has 5 children. One of his sons is here this morning, and has 7 grandchildren. Please help me welcome back to campus, Randy Lyne.
I think he just gave my speech. Thank you very much for coming to hear me, as well as getting a good meal. It's been a long time. I'm one of those students that, although I'm proud to graduate from Washburn, I haven't been back much. And this university is much different than it was when I graduated way back in 1972. I will mention again, as I already was mentioned, in 1966 I graduated from Topeka West. The tornado was that summer, and we started school in September on time. And it was trailer tech, that's what we called it. But really it wasn't, it may seem like a derogatory term, but it really wasn't. I remember from the very start, the students were, proud of the fact that they were, my God, we're going to school, and we're still going to class, and there was a sense of being a part of this, the rebirth of the university and overcoming the adversity. Certainly was different going to school during those years. Didn't have the facilities for meetings, for clubs, and the various groups that were on campus. But the morale was good, both faculty and the students. One of the things I remember is I thought back to, is there anybody there that I went to classes with at Washburn that said, I'm out of here, I'm going to go somewhere else? None. Everybody stayed, everybody continued to be proud of the university and want to be a part of making it back. And certainly you look around now, it's made it back. It's different. Most of my classes were in the trailers at the northeast side of the campus. So a lot different. When I graduated, I will say that I was a lot of students back then. I don't know what the percentages are now, but a lot of us worked full-time. I worked full-time the whole time I went to Washburn at the Menninger Foundation, taking care of adolescent, pre-adolescent kids. In addition, I was in the Army Reserve, took one semester off and went active duty, a little bit more, and did that. So I was busy with work. Army Reserve, and then full load of classes. When I graduated from Washburn, I did what most students did. I went to look for a job in the field that I supposedly was trained to go into, and that was business. I got a job in Kansas City. I'll step back. I didn't say that I'm going to be an entrepreneur when I graduated from Washburn. No, I said I wanted to get into business. I probably had the dream back then of getting into corporate America and becoming successful and living that dream. that didn't work out for me. I went to, got a job with Fairbanks Morse. Fairbanks Morse, one of their divisions was selling pumps, manufacturing and selling pumps and water well equipment. The pumps that I primarily was responsible for is if you live out in a rural area where you don't have city water and have a well drilled, those are the pumps and those are the customer base that I dealt with. The well driller drills the pump, drills the well, puts the pump in the tank, the system, and that's the business I got into, not knowing anything about it. I didn't use the facility that was, I'm sure, available here of a career counselor. I took a job at Fairbanks Morse instead of Motorola because it paid $50 more a month. Probably wasn't a good career move since Motorola was on the rise and had a product that was hot. And Fairbanks Morse was, what I went into was considered an industry that was not growing. But that's what I chose. I pretty quickly, after about a year, was transferred to Minnesota, sales for states up in that area. Then I was transferred to Ohio, which was a larger total available market. Within 6 years of joining Fairbanks, they promoted me to product manager. I went to Kansas City, back to Kansas City, product manager, and then national sales manager. So here I am, 26 years old, national sales manager of a smaller division of Fairbanks. And as I talk to students, hopefully today and tomorrow, things are not always as you think they're going to be when you get into the business world. We grew the business in 3 years as sales manager. I had a great staff. We increased the business sixfold. We had great results. Fairbanks then was a division of Colt Industries. Colt, they own the firearm division, which is well known. They also own Beloit, Wisconsin, which is the world's largest manufacturer of engines for ships. They own Pratt Whitney, a number of very profitable divisions. And that's what the people from Colt, when we had great results, came and said. They essentially told me that you're in a division we don't care that much about. We want you to go to Beloit, Wisconsin and sell engines. Well, I was young still, and I thought, no, I know this business. I want to stay in this business. So I wasn't happy. Didn't take that job. I took a job with a competitor of Fairbanks Morse in Ohio, F.E. Meyer's company. They were 4 times the size of what we were doing. And I became sales manager there, and again was disillusioned. My boss and the management team there felt like it was a textbook case of a mature market, was not going to grow, and the way to make money was to be the low-cost producer and get rid of people, get rid of expenses, and concentrate on profitability. You know, in the time that as a salesman and then as a manager, what I was good at, I thought, was managing people, getting the right people, managing people, motivating them, and having good results. And here I was at a company that wanted to go from 40 salesmen down to 18, 15 salesmen, reduce expenses, so I'm not happy again. But I was honest with them, and I had one night, kind of a turning point in that career was one night I was with the president of the company, who was my boss's boss, working late, and I confided into Martin Brown that I felt like he was dishonest, bad for the morale, and didn't have any respect for his biggest asset, which was the people. He responded by telling me that I was a very good manager, one of the best managers he had, but I was naive and idealistic. And 40 years later, we're both right. He was dishonest, and I was naive and idealistic. So, but I still go along with him. I told him I wasn't happy. This wasn't what I wanted to do. And and I decided to go in business myself. I convinced them, came up with 6 proposals of helping me go into business. Bear in mind, I didn't have a dime. I mean, I did not have any money to start my business. I convinced Myers to close a warehouse in Marietta, Oklahoma, which is right on I-35, halfway between Dallas and Oklahoma City. Since I was sales manager, had been sales manager, I knew that was a bad place for that branch. It was not a good shipping location, and we were servicing the western half of the country. So I told them that I would be the contractor and actually physically close that warehouse, move it to Dallas, and put the warehouse in the place where it should be. But in addition to that, we didn't have distribution in Dallas-Fort Worth, in that part of Texas. So I would be their distributor. So I worked a deal that I hired 2 people. Now, bear in mind, I knew nobody in Texas. I moved there from Kansas City. I didn't know anybody. I put ads in the paper, hired 2 people, and they hired 3 people. I shared, of course, a third credit, but I paid half the rent. They paid half the rent. And every night, I would teletype whatever I sold out of their inventory. I had a teletype machine. This is how long ago it was, pre-fax. And I teletyped whatever I sold that day. They gave me 60 days to pay for it. I gave my customers 20 days to pay for what I sold. And that was the float that I worked on to get started in business. It's been a long journey since then. You know, back then, believe it or not, there were times that for a year at a time where I didn't tell my customers that afraid they wouldn't think I was stable, but I actually lived in my office. I didn't have a house. And I joined I joined a health club simply to have a place to go take a shower at 4 in the morning and then come back to work. That was my secret. But that's the kind of the history of how we got started. I hired those 2 people. Believe it or not, those the first 2 people I hired, 2 of the first 3 people I hired, one retired after 30 years with me, and another one still works for us. So we've had many of those people are still with us. That's when I got into business. Our industry is a business that the same people are our customers for a long, long period of time. So did I have plans or did I have philosophies of business? They were pretty simple. I wanted to make sure that I always attacked the market with a lot of integrity. I knew that I was going to be dealing with customers over and over and for long periods of time. So I wanted to be very upfront with people, make sure that they knew that I was had integrity, honesty, and we're going to build a family of customers and employees, and vendors. It's a small industry. It's a feel-good industry. The people that drill water wells and provide water, they're giving you something that's very important. Water is so important to all of us in our society, and believe it or not, you feel good when you provide water. And it's mostly a family-owned. Our customers are primarily family-owned businesses. That doesn't mean they're so small, but most of them are generational, second, third generation businesses. A lot of emphasis on building relationships for the long term. Kind of now we've biggest asset that we had from the very start is our people. I've always felt that. We have now we've grown to the fact to the point that we have 50 ranches, over 500 employees. We have our average employee has been with us 9 years. We have over 30 people that have been with us 20 years. So not a lot of turnover. People are really important, and truly their biggest asset. We take care of them. Also take care of our customers. One of the things, if you go on our website, you'll see that we have a lot of fun. One of the culture, one of the other things that I wanted to from the very start is I want the hardest working workforce in the industry, harder working than the competitors, but we're going to have more fun than them too. We have a lot of fun. Employees, I tell especially young employees, seems like half a dozen to a dozen times a year a conversation where if you're not happy, let's see if we can find you a position where you are happy, or you need to leave because you're at your job a third of your life, and you got to be happy with what you're doing. And it's a strong conviction of mine. And to kind of illustrate how much fun we have, we do take, we were talking earlier, we have one of the things I started in 1985, I started a trip promotion, and where we take customers and employees on trips. First trip was to Vegas in 1985. We had 12 contractors, 12 customers, and beer in the bathtub. Now we take 1,500 people to Las Vegas every year, stay at the Mirage. We also go on a big trip. We've done that every year since 2002. We just got back from Grand Cayman and stayed at the Westin and buyout for 2 weeks at the Westin. We had 1,400 people. In Grand Cayman, we go somewhere every year. We haven't missed it since 2002. We go to Aruba next year. We've been to a lot of fun, nice places. So we have fun. We have built a culture where we are the largest in our little industry. It's not a big industry, so but we're the largest in our little industry. How big is big? I don't think we're that big. We try not to be act big. Another philosophy I have that's very key is, you train when you own a business and you start a business, you really don't think you're going to be, or at least I didn't think I was going to be this size someday, or I was going to stay this. If I were to guess, I'd have said, well, maybe I'll have 3 branches in northern Texas. But one thing you have to do when you get to a certain size, when you plateau, you either grow or if you're going to grow beyond a certain size, you have to let your people make decisions and be decentralized. We have 50 branches, and every one of them, our branch managers are told to and schooled on run the business, run your branch as if it's your own business, and make decisions that they're your own, it's your own money. All our branch managers make their pay is dictated by how much they make. They get a bonus based on a year-end profit, and that's how they get paid. We hire good people, hopefully train them, make a good work environment, and then they do a great job for us, and we give them a lot of authority, a lot of power. But that's as was David said earlier. The accomplishment I'm most proud of is you get to and I'm old now, but I remember being young and just aggressive and trying to grow the business. Now my biggest goal now, my biggest pressure is to continue to provide a good workplace for over 500 families, and that's kind of my story. I don't know. I'd love to answer questions if anybody's got any questions about what we've done. It's we were early on in our history. We were a very focused company. We only wanted to sell to water well people and only residential. Now we also get into agricultural, like branches in Western Kansas. We sell a lot of agricultural line shaft turbines for ag use. We intend to be the largest seller of agricultural products within the next 5 years. That's where our future growth is going. Any questions from anybody? Hopefully, yes.
Can you talk about your work with underdeveloped?
We do a lot. Water is. I'm pleased to say that water is so important to life that there are so many opportunities to help people in underdeveloped and underprivileged countries. We've done we don't do as much work as provide product. Our customers, I have a lot of customers that do in 4 to 6 months of the year go to Honduras, go to Mexico, go to Haiti, Dominican Republic, numerous countries and numerous areas we provide the products for them to drill wells and provide water to people in those impoverished areas. Sometimes we're a distributor. We're not a manufacturer, we're a distributor. We have relationships with a lot of manufacturers, so we leverage that relationship and get them to also donate a lot of products to those countries and to those developments. It may be, for example, we don't send the product there, but we may be doing business with Halliburton, Bayreuth, and they have distribution in Honduras. So I give them $10,000. They ship $10,000 worth of bentonite product, which is drilling fluid necessary in drilling wells, and then they give that to those the contractors who are down there. That we do a lot of that. There are some parts of the U.S. that are still impoverished enough that people don't have water, safe water to drink. An initiative we have in the U.S. is trying to get cluster well. In other words, instead of a single home having one well, we're trying to, in some parts of Kentucky, Tennessee, West Virginia, to have one community well, and not for thousands of people, but for dozens of families at one time. There's still a need in the U.S. for quality water also. Water really is that's a scarcity of water in many parts of the world. There's a lot of parts of you read about in our business in the U.S. Sometimes it's scarce, sometimes it's not. Depending on whether California went through a severe drought. It's pretty much over now, but they went through a severe drought. That helps our business short term. Our business in California doubled. We have 7 branches in California. Our business in California doubled during the drought. Now it's back down to fairly normal levels now. But there's a lot of things that we do, and more all the time as we can afford to do. Anything else? Yeah.
Curious, have you thought about changing the corporate structure? You're a family-owned business. Do you have trouble reaching the capital markets or other markets? A different structure would be helpful.
No, I don't want to. I didn't mention that, but I actually have no partners. I'm a single owner. I like it that way. Kind of. Don't really want partners. We don't have a need for additional capital. We actually last year had no bank debt, so we don't have a need for that. We're getting into some new products that we have been able to do that without getting into any new capital. I do think that probably in the next few years I'll be transition to an ESOP, so that I can, I probably won't be able to work forever, so my employees would be able to take over the business. And that's the way it's set up, is that, and I get that question a lot because I'm so old, from vendors, what happens when you're gone? And, well, we have an agreement that my management team would buy the company at a less than it's worth, and so that there be no interruption. So. Yes.
Incredible that you pretty much lived on just the values of going to big assets was your biggest. Was there ever a point when you moved down to Dallas that you were living in your office?
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
We'll back it up. I said it's incredible that you had just moved to Dallas on the whim for your assets. You believe that was your biggest company's asset was the voice. Was there ever a point when you were living in your office that you thought you wouldn't make it, or was there ever?
Oh yeah, there were many. There were many times when you didn't make it. You know, when I first went down there, you had to have some capital, and I went out and borrowed money from. My first lender was a company that loaned money to used car lots. And it was strictly an inventory receivables loan. I had to fill out daily reports as to what I sold, all that. And then there was a time in the late 80s, things were going fairly well. We were already doing several $1 million a year in sales. But the banks didn't want my business anymore. Everybody wanted out of Texas. In Texas, there was a bank crisis, and all the banks wanted out. I couldn't get along. I actually almost sold my business for inventory receivables to a larger company in Tennessee. That fell through, thank goodness, and I was able to get an SBA loan, which is the wrong kind of loan for anybody in business to have if you want to grow, because it's essentially you're borrowing less every month. So, but that got me through until I was able to get a line of credit. I remember paying one step away from the mafia. I was 3.5 points over prime for. So now we're talking LIBOR and rates. So, no. There was many times where you don't think you're going to make it as an entrepreneur, and I resisted people buying into my company or merging with other companies. The only time I had a partner in the business was I'd been in Texas. We had 3 branches, and when I was a salesman in Minnesota, I sold to some people up there, a company, and they were going to go out of business. And the employees that were in the pump department of this business came to me and said, "Would you be interested and willing to open a branch in Minnesota? We'd like to work for you." And I said, "Are you kidding? Minnesota? I'm in Texas. I can't go there." So they convinced me to go there, but I did. I made them partners of Preferred Pump of Minnesota because I was afraid they'd leave me. But I bought them out 3 or 4 years later, and never had a partner since. We do have structure-wise, we do have a realty, Lyne Realty, that probably my son, kids will get someday. That's probably their part. It is appropriate. One thing that I would mention is, I don't think of us as a big company at $400 million or 500 people, because I know of other companies so much bigger. But the new tax laws and everything, we are benefiting to some extent from the new taxes, but we're a sub-S. Not everybody knows what a sub-S in here is, but we didn't benefit near as much as a C Corp. So actually, relative to competition, we are adversely affected in some cases. Any other questions? Yeah.
I have 2 questions about your business techniques. So first I want to know, how do you approach your new employees so that they can be incorporated into your business in an easy and efficient way?
Well, it depends a lot on where the employee came from. If it's a young employee that's not from the industry, we want them to be trained from the ground up. That's one thing, and so we get them into work in our warehouse and into inside sales and develop them. There's a lot of training. We're a distributor, like I said, so the pump companies provide training, technical training. Business training we do inside, but technical training we count on our our vendors to do a lot of that. We probably have to, 40% of our employees come from people with no experience. The rest of them are from the industry. Not everyone in our industry, like I said before, it's a mature industry. It still is a mature industry, so we have a lot of people that want to come to work for us from other competitors, and they know the business pretty well, but they have to know our culture, and get to know our culture. What was the other question you had?
Okay, so the other question is, besides like the trips and stuff, what are some other like promotional things or other ideas that you do to keep your employees and customers happy?
Well, more than anything, you treat them like family. You treat them right. We have, for employees, from the very start, within 3 years have been in business, we have started 401k. We have every employee in a branch gets paid a bonus if they make their budget. So I read all the time that people are given $1,000 if you made your bonus. If you made your sales budget in a branch, even if you're just a delivery warehouse person, you made $750 to $1,000 bonus every year, in addition to your 401k and all that. So we treat them right on the financial side. Benefits are better than anybody else in the industry. We don't, one of the luxuries of having been in business for a long time and being a single owner is you're not as profit motivated as some of our competitors. That sounds crazy, but I don't need to make as much money as I used to make. We invested in our employees and into the structure of the company, and want to provide a good place to work.
Could you talk some about the growth process of the business? Was it a steady growth from your humble beginnings, or did it just something that was more exponential once it started and had its own momentum?
In business, that's a good question. That when you're start a business with no money and you have very little money for a while, the biggest thing you do for the first, until you build a nest egg, is to control your business. And I moved to Texas, and oil and gas was king in Texas, and I didn't want that business at all. That was way too volatile. Customers, when times were good, bought a lot, and times were not, were gone. And so didn't want that. And you manage the business to make sure that you don't, that you control your money, your stream. I can remember telling vendors a long time ago that, no, I can't pay you until I'm going to be 2 weeks late because I got to do this. That's what you do for that's first, I'd say 4 or 5 years. Then you get to a point where, okay, you can open a branch and you move, but it's plateaus. You grow, and then you're at a plateau, and you got to stay within your, what you can afford. It's just like running a household, really. You stay within, and then you grow again. And a lot of times when you grow, you decide, okay, we're going to open some branches, or we have made a number of acquisitions too. Out of our 50 branches, 23 or 24 of them are acquisitions of other companies. So you make that acquisition, and actually you probably make less profit for a while after you make an acquisition or after you start a new branch. And then you grow, you don't make as much money, then you start making more money, you plateau again, and then you make a decision to grow again. Running a business, and at least in our industry, and I think most, is more of a growth plateau, and managing the business, managing the growth of the business. It's not just about the top line. Our industry's changed a great deal too. It may sound rosy, it may sound like things are going well. We've had some just recently, and 4 years ago, in the school of business, I'm sure that you still teach about vertical integration and things like that. That sounds interesting. When you live it, it's not so interesting. 4 years ago, our largest supplier of pumps, we were buying $90 million a year from, they cut us off. And that was because they wanted to buy us. And I had no interest in that. So they decided to cut us off, and they want to be us. So they are attempting to they're buying distribution, and they are our competition now. So, and that makes us make less money for a while. We compete with that. It's price competitive. They're trying to take our people, but part of business, part of what you signed up for when you get into the business world. Yes.
You mentioned that your culture is different than your competitors. The number of your people you're hiring from your competitors. So is there certain problems or certain things that you've come across over your experience to try and get those people to integrate into
Sure. Yeah, we don't hire all of them that want to come to work for us. And it is a cultural shock to them. In fact, I was in Wichita, we have a branch in Wichita, and I went there on the way up here, and I had one of my salesmen that said something to me that stuck. He, outside salesman said, really, my customers are not my customers. They're preferred pump customers. I wouldn't want to compete against you. I wouldn't want to compete against us, he said. Because when we hire somebody from outside, we have long conversations about we don't do it that way. We don't, a lot of little examples. I was talking, we hired somebody earlier, or late last year. We had a conversation about a certain customer, and he said, and he was a competitor. He was selling this customer, and he said, why don't you ever call on Miller Grilling? You know, Corey wants the best price on everything he buys, and he wants a better price than the competition because he's the largest in that area. And that's just, we can't do it. It's not fair. He's not buying as much as the other contractors in the area, and we can't sell to him. That's just not the right thing to do. And the guy that we were hiring said, but you could get his business if you just match the price I had. And we could match the price. It's not such that is that we couldn't match the price, but it's not the right thing to do. And that's kind of a cultural change for them. We're in it for the long term. A lot of people aren't. A lot of people are short term.